Welcome to Mendezville Live. With something to talk about, here is Rudy Mendez.
What's going on, Mendezville Live? What's going on? Welcome to the show. I got a little special guest today. Going to talk a little bit about athlete development, what it was like, what we missed here in the Valley, what it was like during COVID, what kind of procedures they had over in San Antonio. Former student of mine, great kid. Man, I forgot to turn all my lights on, but hopefully everybody can see me. We should be okay. I'm still getting used to coming back. But hey, here we go. Let's welcome to the show once again, my man, Alan Gonzalez. How are you doing, Alan?
Doing good, Coach. How about you?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Just excited to have you here on the show, like always.
Yes, sir.
Wait, so what are you doing now? You graduated already? What
Yes,
happened there?
yes, sir. I graduated, and right now I recently got accepted to the master's program back at home, back at UTRGV. So I'm planning on moving back home in August. So right now, what I'm just doing is just working at HEB and just trying to stay active myself. And
So you're a partner. You're a
yeah, I'm a
partner for the
partner.
HEB? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I got to work there at HEB, the one over at Dezavala back in the day.
Oh, really? Right here across
Yeah.
the street.
Hey, I'll tell you what a funny story is. Actually, I don't think I can share that story on live TV, but it's a good story. Let's just say I had to push carts my very first day of work, and I don't think I got more than an hour's worth of sleep.
Oh,
And
wow.
it wasn't because I was out partying
Mhm.
and that I was lacking sleep. It's there was an emergency, a situation where we had to go pick up a buddy of ours and stay overnight or whatever it was. But it was tough. My first day of work at HEB was tough, pushing carts with very little sleep that day. So I know all about it, man. But hey, so what do you do at HEB?
I'm a stalker. I'm an overnight stalker.
Okay, nice, nice. All right. So let before we go into the before we go into your knowledge or your experience during COVID, let's get to recognize the resume, because I know I've spoken to some people about you in here in the district, and one of my things would be, hey, we want this guy to work, to coach students here in this area, whether it be our district or anywhere here down here in the valley. So you're gonna get your master's at UTRGV, and I'm assuming you're gonna pursue coming back to coaching in junior high or high school.
Yes, sir. High
That's
school.
that's
High school is
that's
the
the
plan.
goal. Okay,
hmm
okay. When you're gonna get your master's in what again? I'm sorry.
Special education.
Special education, and you got your degree right now in what?
Kinesiology with a concentration in physical education.
Physical education. Okay. So what I'm with you right now. We got to make sure we understand is one of the things I always said was, I started comparing, right? Because different positions open up throughout the valley in PE jobs, right? And this is more for, let's think about it a little bit here, not just necessarily because it's you, but let's look at the resume. So you go to UTSA, alma mater, right over there, right? UTSA, and you're working with the strength and conditioning program for the NCAA UTSA, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What sports did you, or what athletes, what sports did they play that you helped with?
I help with every sport except football. Football has their own strength coaches, but I work with men's and women's basketball, women's soccer, baseball, softball, golf, and cheerleaders too.
So that was during work study. Is that what it was?
Yeah, work study.
So you were always in the weight room while those athletes were working out, correct?
Correct.
And during that time, I mean, you wouldn't do the work. Like they had their own trainer. And what was your job? You would just monitor them, or what was your role once that happened?
I was a student assistant, so my role was before the athletes got there. I had to set everything up, the whole squat racks, the whatever workout they were doing. Had to set up the equipment, And throughout the workout, I also coached them a little bit. Helped them with technique. I spotted them, little stuff like that. I was always there during the workout.
All right. So you're observing the workouts. You have the paper in front of you of the workouts, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
A few things we got to dissect because we have a lot of student athletes in the area. And hopefully some of the guys watch the show and they learn, especially from this one, is so you're an assistant, you set it up, you're watching the workouts. A few questions. Number one, are the workouts different for every sport?
Yes, there's different movements for different sports. For
Right.
example, the baseball athletes don't do the same workouts that basketball athletes do because there's different movements in the sport.
Right. Which is very I'm glad you said baseball because La Jolla Coyotes were in the playoffs. They went and played Eagle Pass and the Raid on the playoffs. And one thing I noticed, or I think one of the perceptions is, and that is not just that baseball team, is I speak to a lot of coaches from Mission, McAllen, and the only reason I know is because I'm a referee, and through there, through the grapevine, you talk. And one of the consensus is that for some odd reason, it's very hard to get high school players to go lift on their own throughout the whole year, right? So my question to you is this: those baseball players and every other player that's there, do they work out almost year round? Lift weight. I'm not talking about conditioning. I'm talking about lifting weights to get stronger
Yes, sir. All year round.
every day.
Even during the season, coach.
Even
There-
see, and that's another one. We talked about, do you live during the season? How do you balance it out during class, before class, after class? And to me, with my knowledge, is you gotta lift. You
Mhm.
gotta lift. But the only drawback there is that some coaches might say is, well, yeah, but a collegiate athlete, the one like the ones you dealt with, is those guys are already high skilled.
Yeah.
So now we got to get them stronger. To where some high school kids or coaches need to focus on skills, drills, and they can't focus on lifting weights on certain parts of the season.
Right.
But just to be clear, every athlete that you dealt with was lifting weights throughout the season, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So they were all lifting out throughout the season every day, and they were different workouts for different athletes.
Different sports. Yeah.
Different sports. I'm sorry, different sports, right? The other question would be when your experience there is, so I'm assuming while you're there, and I'm going to go back to your resume, and not just you necessarily, but almost everybody that's in your situation is throughout the time, the 3-4, how many years have you been at UTSA? 3-4 years?
4 years.
Okay, you've been there 4 years. I'm assuming that during this time that you're there, you made friends, acquaintances, connections with these athletes, correct?
Correct.
For the most part, like, hey, Alan, they know you by name and stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here's where it got interesting one time when I was talking about you and why every district, not just La Jolla, every district should hire students like you because of this. For example, tomorrow I'm going to have my buddy Brian Rosario, who's a collegiate girls coach, right? Women's coach. And then I have my other buddy who's a power lifter, bodybuilder, Fred Quarles from Indiana State. So when I was at Indiana State, I got to meet some people. At LMU, I got to meet some people who are collegiate coaches. So now, or like my buddy David Burnett, who's up in North Texas, he's a track coach. So it's kind of cool for me, so I can have my pool of collegiate coaches is small compared to yours, to where you can pick up a phone call, a message, whatever it might be. You call them and say, hey, you know what? I got this kid. You might want to take a look at him. You got a lot more of those people. So I'm assuming some of the guys that you met are already collegiate coaches, at least, maybe. No, high school coaches.
Yeah, like the athletes. You're talking about athletes that I know.
Yeah. The athletes that you knew that you worked out, are they back at are they in
Well, some of them are still playing. For example, two of my basketball players that I knew just got signed to some an agent to play overseas. So some of them are still playing at the next level. So yeah, some of them either are playing. Some of them don't coach because some don't like to go into the coaching route. But I don't know a lot of them who went into the coaching route actually. But I know some of them that are still playing, and I know some coaches right now that I made friends with while working there at the weight room. So yeah,
Right. So there's network. There's a network of
yeah.
collegiate coaches, no matter what, and it's gonna grow. Watch when you get older, you'll have those guys. So that's pretty cool. Those are pretty good three things. I think the hardest part for me is as a coach, and in the high school setting, even though I'm not at the high school, is for students to understand how important it is to lift weights. I mean, I didn't know how important it was back in the day. I mean, I worked out. Don't get me wrong, I worked out, but I didn't know the science of working out. So as a matter of fact, this morning I was at Truth and I ran into an ex player, not one of mine, but that I know, and I played open gym with him. And I told him, "What'd you work out today?" He goes, "Oh, today I did chest, right?" And then I said, "Well, what about your triceps?" He goes, "No, no, my arms I do another day." So and that's what most people call the bro split, the bro splits. What kind of splits when it comes to progressive overload and muscle strengthening? What kind of splits do you guys do at the NCAA level?
So one of the things I learned while working with the coaches, like I said before, coaches they work out every day. They try to practice what they preach. So what they do is they have lower and upper body days. So Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, they work on explosion, lower body, power cleans, squats, all that good stuff. And then Tuesdays, Thursdays, they do upper body. But they're coaches. Athletes, they try to mix it up where they have about three main lifts, which the main lifts can be lifts that you use more than two muscle groups. For example, a squat or a power clean. They do either two or three of those a day, whether it's upper or lower body. They mix it up. Like I said, also depending on the sport. Basketball players do a lot of jumping, so squats, jumping with weights, step up stuff like that. Baseball players use a lot of hips, hip thrust, stuff like that. So they kind of mix it up. The athletes mix it up depending on the plan that the strength coach has for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I follow you. It's important, the targeting of different athletes, which is good. The follow up to that is the push pull legs method is what I told that guy. I said, hey, you know what? You should look into the push pull legs day. And then something new I discovered recently was protein synthesis. According to what I heard or researched was protein synthesis occurs every 12 to 15 hours. In other words, fancy jargon, science jargon, to where you can work out the same muscle group the very next day. Do you know anything about that by any chance?
About working out the same muscle group, like back
Which
to
most
back?
people don't. But do you know any of that every day?
No, I'm not too familiar with it. While I worked in the weight room, they mixed it up. They didn't do the same thing back to back. You always want to do something different.
Like different exercise for the same body part or different body parts?
Different body parts.
I got you.
You don't do it back to back. The same muscle group, you don't want to work it back to back.
Right. I'm gonna run that question by my powerlifting, my bodybuilding buddy, who's I'm gonna have the show here in the next few weeks. It's interesting because I want to know if anyone out there knows any of that stuff. I wanted to research on him on my own, but I don't get to work out every day with the busy schedule, and I don't wake up every morning, so I'm slacking on that part. But either way, at this point, whoever watches the show knows high school kids should work out year round. Correct. At least that's if we're gonna talk about anything, that's the biggest message. They gotta lift weights every single day. Yes. Now, hopefully, they're smart enough. They have people that have taught them well enough to do all those things. So you graduate, you have that great experience. I talked about you and in your situation where most districts should hire guys like you because of the marketing, the network that you have for high school kids to get looked at. Either way, nowadays, YouTube has stuff like that and all these other things. Then we have you graduate and you do your, what is it called nowadays? Student teaching still, or is it called something else?
It's called my clinical teaching.
Your what?
Clinical teaching.
Your clinical teaching.
Mhm.
What does that entail? Because I wasn't a phys ed person. I was a business major when I got my master's over there in Indiana State, sport management. What does that entail?
So if you go into the educational route in school, you gotta do 1 semester of student teaching, clinical
Mm,
teaching, which
okay.
is you are basically a full-time teacher working for free. So it's just for you to get experience. You have a mentor teacher, and you're in a class with students, and you teach them. So it's basically you're out there in the field, hands-on learning, and which is my and my opinion the best way to learn, hands-on.
Right. So what school did you were you at one school, two schools? How did that work?
I was at one school in Judson ISD, Kitty Hawk Middle School.
Katie. Oh, nice middle school. So we can compare here. I'm
Yeah,
interested in how they did things. Um, but this was during COVID, correct? Or when
it
did
was
you do this clinical teaching?
it was during COVID. I started January 26th, so COVID was still a pretty big thing. Vaccines weren't hadn't been made yet, so COVID was still a thing back then.
So were you guys when you started your student teaching or clinicals? Were you online, virtual, or were you actually reporting to campus?
So at first they had told me it was gonna be virtual, which I didn't want it to be virtual because I wanted to be hands on,
Right.
And thank God, they told me, yeah, you're gonna be in person, and I was excited, man. I was ready to go. Yeah, it was in person, but we also had virtual kits. So we had in person kits and then virtual kits. So how we did it, our in person kids would get to class, and my mentor teacher would tell them to log into the Zoom with the people from home. So we were all together in a meeting in person and at home, and we would start our lesson plan there together. If that makes sense.
So when they were in there at the middle school, would they change classes, or would you go, or how did that work?
Yeah, I was in person.
Right, but did the students go to different periods?
Yeah. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Since January?
January. Yeah.
Wow. So then that's middle school. When does the basketball season start over there in middle school?
In January. So I started and it was basketball season. So it was
So you got
perfect
to coach
timing.
basketball?
Yeah.
Oh
It,
snap!
it was fun, man. It was fun.
How was okay? So one of the biggest things that we experienced here in the valley as coaches was most of our athletes, for the most part, not all of them, but most of them lost a year's worth of, especially at the junior high level, more than anything, not the high school, because most varsity sports, you know, played.
Yeah.
But at the junior high, a lot of teams, a lot of students didn't play. So we lost a year of game experience, game reps. You guys were playing since January, middle
Yeah.
school,
Yes. We had a few games that got canceled due to COVID,
right?
but we got to play some games, and it was good. Yeah.
How do you compare the junior high kids you coached to what you've seen in the past here in the valley?
Oh man. Well, I don't know if you know, but Judson is one of the best athletics districts in the state. So kids in Judson, man, they're skilled. I got to work with the B team, but of course I got to see the A team, and those kids, man, you can tell they've been playing for a while.
So seventh or eighth grade that you coached.
I coach seventh grade, tenth grade.
So at this point, whoever's watching, especially parents, understand that over there at Judson in San Antonio, the kids that you were coaching already had the skill sets to dribble, crossover, layup. So at any point, did you ever have to teach someone how to make a layup?
Yes, because I was coaching the B team, and the B team, they're a little more raw.
Okay.
They're I worked on their skills a lot more, but man, the A team, those guys play AAU, and they were advanced, coach. The point guard, the seventh grade point guard, in my opinion, could play varsity in the school in the valley right now. That's how advanced that
Well,
kid
I
was.
I, I believe it. I believe it because one of my buddies, Mark Veer, Shout out to Factory of Champions over there on 410 and Broadway. He's he's had some Zooms on Facebook, and he's had Lupe and some other guests who talk about the AAU and the troubles and the pros and cons of travel ball and stuff like that. So I guess in those big cities, most 18th, 7th graders have at least 2, 3, 4 years experience coming in, correct?
Correct.
So then we as parents here in the Valley, we need to make sure our kids are start playing basketball since, let's say, 4th grade at the worst case scenario,
Yes.
which makes a big difference
Big
compared.
difference,
So
coach.
then what you're talking about is right now the 7th grade A team and the 7th grade B team. There's a huge gap, I'm assuming, by what you're saying.
Yes, there was.
Do you think, or what is practice like? Can you run us through a day or two of your practice?
So when my first day, the B team coach was in quarantine, so they threw me in the fire. Um, so I was ready to go. I had the whole back gym to myself with my B teamers because the 8th grade team was in quarantine. So
Hmm.
the A team was in the main gym, and I was able to go to the B team. And I was given instructions. So our first day of practice, we had a game like 2 days after due to COVID. Due to COVID,
Hmm.
we
Right,
started
right.
late. So coaches were all panicking. The first day, the A team coach, Coach Keith, he gave me instructions to run a play. First day of practice, which I didn't agree because it was first day. My kids still didn't know how to make a layup, dribble, stuff like that.
Right.
So I was like, no, I'm not gonna teach them a play because they don't even know how to play the game yet.
Right.
So, I said, screw that. I went to the back gym and I worked on, the basics: dribbling, make a layup, jump stop, passes. And it was my first day of practice. It was a little hard because the kids didn't know me. I had to earn their trust. So that first day was a little harsh because, man, um, so the next day it got better. Little by little, I had to earn their trust, their respect, and they started listening to me.
Excuse me.
Um, but yeah, I worked on dribbling, uh, passing. I taught them how to play the game. That's my main goal. I wanted to teach them how to play instead of teaching them plays. And I think that was the biggest difference because A team, they had all those skills already. So, coach was able to teach them play and it would work. For me, I couldn't do that because the kids didn't know how to play. My main goal was teaching them the game, how to correctly play the game instead of teaching them plays.
Right.
So I had my own schedule. I would do my own schedule during the day for after school, and yeah, I would just work on fundamentals all practice long till
Okay. Okay.
the main coach came back and he took over. But
How long was that for?
I had him for about a week. I coached him too that same week, so I was
Nice.
able
And
to.
then after that, the main coach comes back, and
Yeah.
you're just like his assistant.
After he came back, now I was kind of all over the place. Now I went to the 8th grade, just observing the 8th grade, helping out little by little. Going back to the 7th grade, just observing, seeing how they did things over there, and just trying to learn.
Right. Which is good. You learned. You learned. I think when you make that comment of you wanted to teach them how to play the game, I think what we need to clarify is in that situation is you cannot teach plays or they're pointless because if the kids cannot dribble, pass, and execute the skill of the game, the play doesn't matter.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
cannot execute. They have trouble moving their body. They to pass, catch. I mean, some kids have trouble catching. Some kids don't know how to dribble right hand, left hand. Some people don't
Mhm.
even know how to rip, jab
Right.
step, pivot. If you don't know how to pivot and there's pressure on you and you stop your dribble,
So
man, those shoes feel like they weigh 100 pounds, man.
you're right.
One of my favorite things when a kid doesn't know how to pivot, which doesn't happen very often anymore to me. Once I became a PE coach, is I focus a lot during 6th grade on those little skills But when I still get seventh graders that they catch the ball and all of a sudden they start leaning like this, trying to avoid instead of just
Off
pivoting.
balance, you know.
I don't know if I used this with you guys back in your day. Is when you catch the ball, does your shoe activate all of a sudden that it weighs 100 pounds that you can't lift it anymore? And of course, kids don't understand that. But I say, look, we got to learn how to pivot, and you practice that. But sometimes kids don't know how to pivot,
Right.
and that's something that personally to me, by sixth grade, every kid should know how to pivot. Every kid should know how to crossover, make a right-handed layup. At least, maybe not make them, but at least execute the fundamental mechanics of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you coach there. Now, let me ask you: during your day at school, during your conference, or during any time during those times that you were there, do some of those teachers go to the athletic period, or no? Or you never heard anything like that over there?
What do you mean, like my subject teachers?
Right. So I've heard say that in some districts they kind of curtail to where some of the core teachers, subject teachers, they work around where they can go and be part of the athletic period for seventh or eighth grade. Have you ever heard of anything like that over there?
No.
No.
No,
Or
the
maybe they
coaches
were
there
elective
were
teachers.
strictly PE coaches.
How many PE coaches were out there?
Three.
Three males or three males and three females, or how did that work?
Three males and three females.
So six P/athletic coaches.
Yes.
Nice. For a junior high.
Yes, sir.
The weight room. How often do they go in the weight room over there?
Athletics, they go every day.
Every day. They're
Almost
doing
every day.
weights or some type of sprinting or something, or it just depends, or weights every day.
Sometimes they would do conditioning, but most of the time they were strictly in the weight room, and that's because the director from the high school would tell the coaches to do that, and he would come about maybe 2 times a month, one time, and he would come and observe and coach the I'm talking about the high school athletic director.
Right.
So yeah.
So let me ask you this, from your knowledge and from your experience, should junior high kids, should they be in the weight room every day, or should you mix it up outside sprinting or conditioning or some type of plyos in the gym or anything like that? Or what's your take?
I would mix it up a little bit with the conditioning and with the sprinting and agility, but I'm kind of with being in the weight room because, man, those kids, they're strong, and you
Oh,
can
no,
tell
no doubt. You
they're
got to
probably
lift.
putting
I'm
in.
not saying not to lift. I'm just saying, I personally, from my experience, then again, remember, we're dealing with different kind of population. You're
Right.
talking about the A team knows their skills already. They've been playing since elementary.
Right.
To where I'm thinking more in our region, is we got to mix it up in the sense of
With
maybe
skills.
weights 3 times a week, twice a week. Talking about sprints, plyos, agilities, whatever it may be.
All right. Back in our community, then of course our kids are a little behind with the skill set, so you have to mix it up a little bit for sure because our kids are already behind compared to other school districts. But yeah, I would mix it up with, you know, skills, whether it's basketball, football, whatever. But I think it's really important to lift at least three times a week.
No
I would
doubt,
have
no
them
doubt
weigh
about it.
3 times a week.
I completely agree. I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So you do that. So how long was the season over there?
The basketball season, man, I think we only played about 4 games, but because 2 of them got canceled because we had a few COVID situations where kids were sick, so we had to quarantine and cancel a few games. So I would say it was maybe about a month.
Okay, so I'm assuming maybe regular season is maybe 2 months, depending on
Yeah,
COVID.
COVID
A
messed a
lot of
lot of things up.
a lot of just so aside from basketball. Whoa, time out. During the day, you were what? You were teaching what?
P. So
Oh,
we
you
had
were in PE.
yeah, I was in P.
Oh, so you were there the whole day
Yeah, I was there all day.
in the gym. Okay, so let me ask you this: how big is the weight room you were in? How many racks? How many benches? Stuff like that.
We had 5 squat racks and about 4 benches.
What about the deadlift stations?
So what we would do is we would um, move some mats into the back gym, and we would have our power clean stations in the back gym with some mats, and then we would have the squat and benches in the weight room because our weight room wasn't that big. It was small.
Man,
It's an old
man,
school
say that again.
because our gym is not that big, so we don't have like power clean. We don't have space to power clean in the weight room, so we would move mats into the back gym where we would have our power clean stations. We wouldn't really deadlift. We would power clean in the back gym,
Oh man, deadlift
squat
isn't
and
deadlift
bench.
like the epitome of a lift? Isn't like was that one of the best lifts though?
Deadlifts.
Yeah.
Um, it is the main lift, coach, but I don't think it's really that important. A deadlift.
So you wouldn't exclude it from a workout, would you?
No, I mean that's what the coaches would do. I wouldn't tell them what to do. The coaches, they would uh, tell them what to do. Tell them what workouts to do.
Right. Oh, so you were just learning from what they would do.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me. Okay, so was it very different compared to the workouts at the NCAA at UTSA?
No, I mean power clean, squat, bench.
The three
Main
compounds.
the three count, but the three main lifts.
Right, right. No doubt about that. I will say this. Let me take time. I might cut this up. I might cut this up as a message. And this goes to everybody in the state of Texas, in the nation. This goes for everyone in the nation. Personal opinion. I think all architects, I think all engineers, I don't know who's in charge of every district. I don't know what I don't know what that position is of the person per district across the state of Texas, across the nation. But I think both the architects and the person in charge at the respective districts, they need to understand that junior highs need a weight room that is at least 5,000 square feet. What does 5,000 square feet look like? If you have a rectangle, you're going to fit 7 squat racks, 7 deadlift or power clean stations, 7 more benches, 7 or space for ladders, and another 7 for bench press. For example, at Chavez Middle School where I worked, we had 7 squat racks, we had our deadlifts, we had some benches where I modified it to do some stationary work for knee tucks or the flutter kicks. Then I had ladders, and then I had 7 more benches. Plus, I still had space on both sides for storage and things like that. I think every engineer, every architect across the state of Texas needs to understand that junior highs need 5,000 square feet. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I'm with you, coach, 100%.
100%. We need space.
Yeah.
We need space no matter what. So then basketball season ends. Then what do you do?
Then track season started. So I didn't really help out a lot with track because it's not my thing. But I was still teaching during the day, and then I had to go work during the night. So it was a little tough. So yeah, I was still teaching during the day. Athletics. We had A and B days. So A days we had 8th grade athletics, and then I had 3 PE classes throughout the day, which were my busy days. And then my B days were my lighter days, which was I had 7th grade athletics, and I had one other PE class different from the A day. And then I would have lunch duty and conference for the rest of the day. So that was my light day, which was nice. But yeah, I would see different students on A and B days.
Yeah, I heard about that. One of my fraternity brothers' wives. She told me she was at what school is she at? North San Antonio ISD. But it's very interesting. You mentioned so at the beginning of the day, that's when you guys started your athletic period.
Yes, our first period we had athletics.
You know, it's funny because I personally think, and here's another piece of advice for everyone out there, all the schedulers who schedule junior high, is either 7th grade or 8th grade athletics should be first period. It should be first period. I say it because of this. You start your day off with a workout, then you get to rest throughout the day while you're in class. You get a meal to replenish calories, and then you go work out again after school. Is that how? What do you think about that comment? According to the knowledge you have,
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Also, you have more time. Like at the start of the day, you get here early, you have less time waste. You got more time to change. Where if you have athletics during the day, students get out of class, they still have to change. By the time they're in the gym already, you only got about 30 minutes to work with them, and then they got to change again. So yeah, there's different benefits, and I
so
agree
were
with you
you?
also on
So
the
while you were there, students get there and they change, and then there's the kind of like an open gym period, and then you start your athletic period. Okay,
yeah. So we would get kids. They would get there early, and they would get ready to start the day.
nice. See, I like that. You show up, you change, have a little open gym, whatever it might be, and then we actually go into the workout.
Yeah,
Man, that sounds pretty good. Hey, I like that.
and that's why it was for me in high school too. We would have a basketball period first, and I would get there early, man. Put some shots up, ready to go.
Well,
Uh,
see, I think that's a norm at the high school level, and I think that's a norm across the valley, the state, where most varsity sports, for the most part, start first period.
yeah,
They get there early. Students either work out, get shots up, whatever it might be, and then you start the actual class.
right.
But now I'm talking about at the junior high
That's the
level. I
junior high
think
grade.
there should be a norm for schedulers to always have either eighth grade or seventh grade athletics during first period.
Yeah, and when I was in middle school with your brother, Coach Mendez, I had athletics in the middle of the day.
Do you remember it was
So,
before or after lunch?
oh man, I can't remember, but it wasn't first period for sure. I know that.
Because see, one thing that we see in not in different junior highs, different from talking to different people across the valley, is I personally am not a fan of last period being the athletic period. I'm a fan of first period for sure, and then a period before lunch has to be athletics, and then have lunch, and then we don't see the athletes until after school.
Right.
I think we need to see the athletes at the junior high level, whether it's first period or third or fourth, but it's got to be before lunch.
Yeah, sometimes early in the day.
I think it's got to be earlier during the day for their workouts, stuff like that. But that's just me. So you don't do track. What do you what does your PE period look like over there when you were there?
So our PE, we had so we would have our kids log into the Zoom in person as well. Like I said, so we were all together in a meeting, in person and virtual, and we would have a workout um, in our module. So we had this program called Canvas, where students would log in, and we have modules there, different days. You click on the day, and we had a workout, um, like a 20 to 25-minute video where the P kids had to do it with their cameras on. And man, and that was the hard thing, man. Hard to motivate, especially virtual kids, to actually do the workout. I wasn't a big fan of that. I had to sometimes I had to do the workout myself so that the kids would do it with me. That was one of the ways they would actually do the workout, by me doing them. I would be like, "Hey, I'm doing it. Why not you?" You know. So yeah, we would work out for about 30 minutes. I had the P kids to myself. My mentor teacher would just give me the keys to the car, so I was in charge of that. I would sometimes take the in person, so the video would finish. I would tell the virtual kids, you know what, you did the video, you get a grade for the day. Bye bye. And then I would focus on my in person. Um, so what I would do with them, sometimes I would take them into the weight room, teach them the fundamentals, how to properly grip a bar, which a lot of kids don't know, even in the high school level, even in the college level, you still have to teach how to properly grip a bar, which is
But you're
really
talking about the
important.
non-athletes right now,
Yeah,
right?
I'm talking about
Correct?
P
Right.
P kids. And I mean, the kids liked it, man, better than doing a video.
Right.
Taught them how to properly grip a bar, how to properly do a squat, how to bench, touch your chest, lock out, how to properly spot uh, uh, your classmate when he's lifting, all those little things. And they enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. I think it's really important for them to know how to lift weights in a proper and safely manner, and for them to have an active lifestyle, growing up, whether they athletes or not. My PE kids enjoyed it a lot.
It's very interesting you mentioned that, because I remember, I go to the PE. We're doing PE and there at Chavez. I'm a PE coach, and we implement plyometrics. We implement speed training in the sense of learning how to run correctly. Some little workouts, basketball skills, some football skills, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And one time someone asks me, why this is PE? Why are you putting so much emphasis on this? Right? Why do you put so much emphasis on PE? And I said, let me tell you why. Because when I was at UTSA, and this was before I went on to pursue my master's, and I learned about student development, recreation, the importance of an active lifestyle. I was at UTSA. I don't know why I was there on, Friday working out. I was probably trying to get my muscles swole before I went out, right? I was probably trying to get a swole. That way when I went out, I filled up my shirt a little bit more. That's probably why I was there. But so I'm there and I'm watching these guys play basketball.
You're talking about like the rec, coach? You're at the rec? Huh? You're at the rec?
Say that again?
Were you at the rec at that time?
I can't hear you.
Were you at the rec?
I think it's my system. Hold on. Hey, can somebody tell me if you guys can hear Alan? I think it's my system here.
Coach.
Okay, hold on. I cannot hear you.
Mic test.
Hold on, give me a sec. No, this isn't gonna be it. Okay, all right, test again.
Mic test. 1, 2, 3.
No, it's this thing. Give me a second. Hold on. While I'm testing this out, let me give the people the background behind my
okay.
The background behind my where I was going at. So what was going on there was, oh yeah, it's this thing. I figured it out. So people can hear you. I can't hear you. No, it's not that one. It's this one. There it is. It's me. Huh. I had trouble with this thing last week. All right. Either way. So back to my back. People can hear you, but if I can't hear you, I can't talk to you. Either way, the background was this. So I'm there on a Friday, right? So I'm there on a Friday, and I see these guys playing pickup ball, and I see them, but they're not the guys that would play on the A court, right? These guys were never going to play on the A court.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to myself, well, I guess we got to teach those guys that are going to play on the A court at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We got to be able to figure out a way to help those guys out when they play basketball on their own at the university level. That's where I'm coming from. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hear you like this. At least I can hear you like this. The sound shouldn't come into the mic, so we should be good. So my goal is when I'm teaching those PE kids, sorry about that, audience, viewers. My goal is for those guys that are not going to play in the A court at 3, 4 o'clock p.m. is for them to at least be able to play amongst their own little group of friends when they get to college and they go to the rec center and play.
Right, recreationally.
Yeah, recreationally. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's that group of we all know that at every rec center across America, there's that group that's balling up from 3 to 5 p.m., correct?
Correct. Yo, coach, you cut off, coach.
Okay, sorry. I pressed the button here on this mouse. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
All right. So everybody knows that across the nation, there's
The
there's
ballers from 3 to 5.
from 3 to 5, people are balling up.
Yeah.
And it gets intense. I got people got next.
It gets competitive.
Very competitive.
Yeah.
But then there's also the group that most people don't know about that show up on a Thursday night, Friday afternoon, and they're playing basketball amongst themselves.
Yeah.
It's not as competitive. They can compete, but it's more fun, recreational, and that's where I go with PE is important. Now I like your idea where, and I'm gonna steal it, is those PE kids, they gotta learn how to lift the bar because they're gonna go to college. There's gonna be a rec center. They're gonna want to lift weights. They gotta learn it they have to learn it from someone.
Right.
Right. And that's a very key point you make, that you taught them that this past year there at Judson, which is, I think, is awesome. Cool. So then you do track, wait a minute. This whole time that you're doing your student teaching, you're working at HEB overnight?
Yeah.
Man.
So I'm teaching Monday to Friday, and then I'm working overnight Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Thursdays I teach during the day, take about a 2-hour nap, go to work during the night. Right after work, go shower and go teach in the morning, Friday morning. So Fridays were tough, man. I didn't sleep at all. But I there's beauty in the struggle, coach, and I grew a lot. I got mentally stronger. It was a tough semester, but I got through it, man, and it was crazy. But I learned a lot about myself.
So then after school on Fridays, I'm imagining you would come home, just crash out until you had to go to work again?
Yeah, I would take another 2 to 3 hour nap and then go back to work 10 o'clock.
Man, that is a grind, man.
It was a grind, coach. And I was still active. I would still go to the gym, It's a big part of me. Like I said, I like to practice what I preach. So there's no excuses, coach.
It's interesting when you say you practice what you preach. I'm a believer in, if you're a coach, you got to do some kind of exercising.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Huh?
It's like any teacher, like a math teacher. How are you going to teach math if you don't know how to do math? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's a very good point. You got to you're right. You got to know how to do math in order to teach it, right?
Right.
So my thing is, I mean, not to say that I'm right, and I know I'm not. I just believe that if you're a coach, you should be into exercising some shape, form, or fashion. Not to say that you're super swole,
right,
or you're in super shape,
mm-hmm.
but you do some kind of exercising 3-4 times a week.
Yes, sir.
If you can, whether it be jogging, running, spinning, Zumba, lifting weights here and there, whatever it might be.
Yes, sir.
Right?
You got to be that example for your athletes.
Right.
They're looking up to you, so you got to do it too.
Because you got to be able to move. I mean, I know I'm not nowhere near what I was when I coached you. I'm nowhere near where I was when I was in high school, college. But, I can still try to run up and down and play a little bit.
Back in the day, coach, you would run it up, coach.
No, I mean, it was, hey, I'll tell you what, it wasn't that. It was that you were in junior high. If you would have been in high school, be like, oh, wait a minute. He's not as good as I thought he was, It's just different. You were still not as fast. That's all it was. So, and I like that. So, you don't do track. What's after track season?
That was it, coach. After track, that was the last sport.
So, your experience in coaching after school was basketball.
Yeah, basketball.
In the middle school setting, your your weightlifting came from UTSA sports work study.
Yes.
Nice. And I guess football had their own thing. Did you ever get to kind of walk in on that or see it?
Oh yeah, we use the same weight room. Well, now they're building a new facility, but
it looks nice. I'll tell you what,
it looks nice. But
it's nice.
Back when my freshman year and sophomore year, when I worked there, we used the same weight room, and I knew the coaches. The coaches were cool, man. you would ask them questions, and they would, you know, give you feedback and everything. But I would walk in, coach. It was intense, intense. It's another level, coach. The energy in the weight room when the football players are there is it's crazy. It's just crazy, like screaming, you know, music, coaches losing their voice. It's crazy, you know.
Well, I'm glad. Hopefully, some of my students see this because I go a
Yeah,
little crazy when I'm in the weight room myself.
yeah,
When we're lifting weights
yeah.
during athletic period, we
Gotta
got the
bring the
music
juice.
going, huh?
Gotta bring the juice.
Hey, that's right. Hey, you gotta love that grind, man. You gotta love that
Yeah.
grind. So that's pretty cool. Another question, and we touched base on this the last time you were on the show, and I gotta touch base on it again. The multi-sport athlete. In college, it's more you play that sport, but for I'm assuming most of the football players could play basketball, correct?
Correct. Yes. And that our quarterback right now, Frank Harris, he was highly recruited for basketball too, and he went to Judson too. He went to Judson ISD. Um, so my middle school coaches knew him, and man, he was a dog in basketball too. He was a dog, and he ended up playing quarterback, and ended up going to UTSA, hometown. So yeah, man, most of the football players play basketball.
I wonder. I just cannot figure out. I cannot figure out why in our area, and I'm talking about the whole valley. In our area, kids just don't play two or three sports. I just cannot figure it out. I, do you know if baseball players play different sports, the ones that you dealt with,
No,
or you
coach,
never
baseball.
asked?
I think baseball players only stick to baseball. When I used to hoop at the rec, I would always see football players, track athletes, but I would rarely see a baseball player playing basketball. I maybe saw it once or twice, but no, baseball players usually stick to baseball.
I know. The one time I had who what maybe once or twice. Russell the track star. There was this Cody. I forgot his last name. Cody. Oh, hell of an athlete, fast. But he was a baseball player and he played flag football as an intramurals. But I think he already finished playing baseball. Great athlete. And I think that's the next avenue I'm going to pursue is I want to know how many baseball players played multi-sports when they were. I know the only other example I can give is um, Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, but he's a special case who played football, basketball, baseball back in high school, right? But I wonder how many of those baseball players actually played different sports when they were in high school.
All right. It's an
But
interesting topic for sure.
say that again.
It's an interesting topic.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. I think one of the things that we see here in this area is when it comes to baseball is we neglect being an athlete. You got to be fast. You got to move laterally. You got to be able to jump. Fast twitch fibers. Work them all out instead of just. I don't. Sometimes as baseball parents, we can neglect our kids from being multi sports and creating athletes before we create baseball players. I think it's more important to create an athlete and then you create a certain type of player. But that's just me. So what? So you're gonna come down to UTRGV. When do you move down here? Back in August,
August. Yes, sir.
and you're gonna get your master's in special education.
Correct.
And then once you graduate, you're gonna apply to work at any district that takes you. I'm assuming.
Yes, sir. I mean, I would
Uh,
like to teach at my community, coach. I think being a teacher, you gotta be culturally efficacious, which means understanding where your kids come from, and and knowing what they go through, and that's one of the main reasons why I would like to go back to my community. But yeah,
Alan, you're cutting up. I wonder if it's my internet, if it's yours.
can you hear me?
Now I can. You cut up a little bit. Go ahead. Say that again.
That I think I would like to teach in my community because I believe in teachers having to be culturally efficacious, which means understanding your kids, understanding where they come from, what community they live in, and that's one of the main reasons why I want to go back home, because I understand where the kids come from.
It makes a difference. I think it makes a difference.
Yes, sir.
Very much so. Well, Alan, I wish you well. You know, if you need anything once you move down here, let me know. Phone call away. Good luck at UTRGV. Hey, go Roadrunners, no matter what. Hey, that blue and orange, you know, it's right over there somewhere. Of course, you can see it from this other camera angle.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
let me see your Roadrunner. Thank you for being on the show once again. I want you to talk a little bit about your experience there at COVID. More interestingly, the basketball program. Too bad we couldn't touch base on the football in the middle school. You know, it wasn't your time, correct? I'm assuming.
Correct. Yeah, I started the second semester of the school year, which just basketball.
Yeah. All right then. Any other things you'd like to add?
Now, coach, that's about it.
Hey, thank you for the information. Thank you for the advice. Great conversation, Alan. You have a good night.
All right, coach. Thank you for having me, coach. Take care.
Hey, I'll see you down here when you move down.
Yes, sir, coach.
Later.
Later.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So that's the show for today. We had Alan Gonzalez, former player of mine, UTSA alumni. Has some great knowledge. I think the biggest message for everybody out there, especially those junior high and high school kids, is you got to work out. You lift weights every day. You lift weights every day. College kids do it. Different high schools do it up in the northern part of the state, I guess. You have to lift weights. Focus on your grades no matter what. I've had guests here that are collegiate coaches. I'm having a collegiate coach on tomorrow night who's going to talk about, you know, his approach to coaching, which is going to be interesting. I'm excited. Mr. Brian Rosario, he's going to be here on the show. He's out in LA. So stay tuned for tomorrow. Hope you have a good night and see you tomorrow. And hopefully you enjoyed the show. Later. I got to start putting some music. You know what? I'm going to tell the Artist Project to see if I can use this music during my show. That way I can have some rights to that. Peace.